Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce annual meeting. My name is Dan Bates, and I'm the President and CEO of the Greater Hamilton Chamber, and I'm thrilled to be here with you tonight. Next, we are about to have our invocation, so I would like to call Pastor Dr. John Lewis from the Presbyterian Church for the invocation and pledge.
Would you please stand for the invocation, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us pray. Eternal and gracious God, it is with humbled hearts that we gather in your presence this evening. We give you thanks for this wonderful meal that has been set before us. We thank you for the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, for all that they do. We thank you for the leadership of Dan Bates, Lord, and the dedication of all the hard-working staff. We thank you for everyone gathered here tonight who love and believe in our community. And we thank you and ask for your blessings on our good friends and citizens of the year, Jason and Tammy Snyder, for their devotion and love for Hamilton. Bless Sam Byler. Bless his words and bless his vision for our city. We lift before you in prayer this evening all the businesses here tonight. May you bless each of them with prosperity in the coming year, and may each of us be filled with pride for our community, where people make our city a place of destination and want to live, raise their families, and do business. For we pray in your holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In case you haven't been paying attention, I've been your chamber board chairperson for the last 12 months. So if you didn't know that, you better pay attention tonight and find out what's going on around here. But seriously, though, it's been a pleasure to serve as the Chamber Board Chair to represent all of our businesses in this fine community of Hamilton, Ohio. So thank you for that pleasure and opportunity. I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank my Chamber Executive Committee and board members that supported me in my efforts to lead the Chamber last year, and also my employer, U.S. Bank. So thanks to all those people for your assistance. I am Joe Ballou from U.S. Bank, and it has been a pleasure. And it's also my pleasure right now to introduce Tom Urban, our event sponsor, Mercy Health Fairfield Hospital. Tom, big round of applause.
It is certainly an honor and a pleasure for Mercy Health to be the sponsor for tonight's annual meeting of the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. And certainly for me personally, I'm very pleased to be here to represent Mercy Health. Next month, I'll be with Mercy Health for 25 years, believe it or not. And, not everyone will clap when they hear that fact, but hospital administrators don't usually last that long. In fact, I think it was Bill Wilkes that paid money that I wouldn't last 5 years. Sorry about that. But my wife Nancy and our family have been part of this community for all that time and have enjoyed the quality of life that exists here that you all enjoy as well, to live and work in this area. And we are anxious to hear Sam in a little while talking about the next giant step toward that, even improving that quality of life as it relates to Spooky Nook. You know, the renaissance that the city of Hamilton and surrounding area that have been enjoying over the past few years has been very impressive. You know, thanks. We enjoy working with the chamber, Dan and Nancy and the crew. We enjoy working with Joshua and the entire team at the city. I know Mayor Moeller is here tonight. We were with him last night when we cut the ribbon at the Primary Health Solutions. I know Mark and his team is here tonight. And the new dental clinics, 8 of them that Mercy was happy to, with the Wilkes Foundation, to help fund. Very impressive. In fact, we tried to get Neil Cohen to sit in the dental chair to practice with that new drill system they have there, but he politely refused. You know, Mercy no longer operates a building at Mercy Hamilton, but we're still very active in the community. Our mission calls for us to improve the health of the communities we serve, and we're committed to that. So we will continue to look for individuals and organizations that we can collaborate with, cooperate with, partner with, that have the same aim that we have, and that is service to the community, to make this place a better place to live and work. So, Mercy is very proud to be part of Hamilton's history, going back to 1892, and we look forward to being a part of Hamilton's future, which is very bright indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Mercy. Tom and I do go way back, and just to show you how you can have maybe not competing viewpoints, because we're all in it for the same purpose, but Tom knows I've been on the board of Fort Hamilton Hospital for 26 years, and yeah. Yeah. So I've seen his work, and they do a great job. So it's great that our city and our county has such fine healthcare facilities around, and there's enough people and bodies that need to be served. So thanks for all that you do in this community. I'd also like to thank our presenting sponsor, Miller Coors. The Miller Coors Trenton Brewery has now provided stable, continuous employment for its employees for 27 years. And what outstanding leadership under Denise Quinn. In addition to supporting their employees, they are dedicated to being a positive contributor to the communities they encircle, while also ensuring that they produce the highest quality products in a safe environment for enjoyment by all consumers. They brew a portfolio of great tasting beers, including Coors Light, Miller Lite, and Miller Genuine Draft, while maintaining a strong commitment to the environmental sustainability, including the protection of the Great Miami Buried Valley Aquifer. Let's give a big round of applause to our presenting sponsor, Miller Coors, and Denise Quinn. I think there's a few toasts there in the back right. Now a little bit of official business. As I call your name, please stand, but also have the applause held until I'm finished. Pursuant to the bylaws of the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, the nominating committee has filed its report for the trustees, which is in your program. Trustees being elected for a 3-year term. Please stand. Pete Abner, Kirsch CPA Group. Over to my left. Joe Ballou, U.S. Bank. Mark Belisario, Primary Health Solutions. Mark. Jason Crank, United Heartland Insurance Agencies. Vincent Jackson, StarTech. And Joel Schmidt, McDonald's Lavajo. I'd like to ask for a motion to elect this slate of trustees. I hear a motion. Is there a second? I hear a second. I'd like to call for the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Same sign. Thank you very much. Congratulations and a round of applause to our newly elected 3-year terms. Now I'd also like to introduce and have these individuals please stand, our newly appointed members of the Board of Trustees of the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. Anita Hilburn, Barclaycard USA. Anita in the back. Derek Partman, Rise Fit. Derek. Josh Sellers, Auto Express of Hamilton. And John Thompson, ThyssenKrupp Bilstein of America. Let's give a congratulations to those newly appointed members of the Board of Trustees. And now it's my pleasure to introduce your chamber officers for the 2018 year. Would you please stand as I call your name? Our new chamber board chair will be Cinnamon Troken, Parrish, Markham and Troken Company. First vice chair, Jason Crank, United Heartland Insurance Agencies. Second vice chair, Marnie Durham, Butler Tech. Continuing on as treasurer, Rick Dimmel from U.S. Bank. And I will slide into that past chair role. I'd like for all of the Board of Trustees members, those elected tonight to 3-year terms and those appointed to terms, and all the continuing on board members, please stand at this time. Round of applause, please. These are your elected members to lead our business community, and I think it's an outstanding group, and I'll be excited to continue to be a part of that. I have a few brief remarks before I hand off the podium to Cinnamon. First off, like I said, I want to reinforce what a great group of people I've been involved with. Dave Lippert, Mike Dingledine, Denise Quinn, great people to be mentors, to lead me into this role as chairperson. And hopefully Cinnamon will follow and hopefully do a lot better job than I've done. But my first comments are going to be about Dan Bates. I think Dan was a great hire. I think 2017 was an outstanding year. Dan didn't have a lot of direction from me other than let's get out and meet our members. Let's meet our sponsors. Let's connect better with the city. Joshua Smith, Economic Development, Jody Gunderson. Let's work with Pat Moeller and an outstanding group of city councilmen. Let's make sure we meet the schools and Tony Orr. Make sure you introduce yourself to John Gaduli. He's got a big pocketbook. And let's make sure you know Mike Dingledine and the Core Fund, because these are the people that are making the renaissance and the revitalization of Hamilton happen. And you know what? Dan's done that, I think. He's also improved the communication, the reputation, and the perception of the city of Hamilton. He may share in his comments about the Realtors Tour, which I think was an outstanding thing. Let's educate the people about Hamilton, not wait for them to educate themselves about who we are. So I think Dan's done a great job, and he's got a great challenge ahead of him in 2018, and we're going to be right behind him. Second thing I'd like to say in my comments is I'd like Tiffany Grubb, Laura Merrill, Nancy O'Neill, and Tammy Walton to stand. Ladies and gentlemen, these are 4 outstanding women. They run the chamber. Right, Dan? The last thing I told Dan when we hired him was, you know, we got a pretty damn good staff. I said, take your time to find that out, and I think he's found that out. They're everywhere. They get things done. They don't really care who takes the credit. They know that there's a common goal and an end that needs to be done and a deadline to be met, and they all do it. And it's events like this that come off without a hitch. I've been the chair of the Chamber Golf Outing for probably over 30 years, which is really why I think I got this gig as board chair, because if you run a committee for 30 years, they probably let you run the organization for a year. Right, Scott? I point out Scott Ellsworth because we had a transition year in 2016. If you remember, Kenny Craig left, Scott stepped in, and it's transition. We didn't miss a beat because we had an outstanding staff to support Scott, and he took us to the next level, introduced us to Dan Bates, and look where we are today. And we're still climbing higher and better and bigger forever. And we're certainly looking forward to the arrival of Spooky Nook in town and what that can do for you, the business community. I think it's going to transform you. So one more round of applause for our staff and for Dan Bates, please. My last official duties, and I'll do it with a great smile and a big handshake, would be to introduce your new Chamber Board Chair, Cinnamon Troken, attorney and partner with Parrish, Markham and Troken Company LPAs. Cinnamon? Congratulations.
Don't go very far, Joe. As my first official duty as chairman, I actually get to thank Joe for all of his service. And I know that pretty much everyone always says that the former chair was just such a great leader and so spectacular. But in this case, it's actually true. So Joe was just very present at all chamber events, many of the things, and he provided some really spectacular leadership when it came to the transition from our interim to our new president. And so I would like to thank you, Joe, for being such a great chair for us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now I have to say goodbye to a few of our friends here as I thank the following outgoing board members. And this person is present. If Don Baker from Baker and Associate CPAs would please stand. He's here. He's over there. Don was our treasurer for many years, and we are very sad to see you go, but excited for new opportunities ahead. Thanks, Don. And I also would like to recognize these outgoing board members who are not in attendance, and if you would just hold your applause until the end. Woody Fitton from Great Miami Valley YMCA, Dave Lippert from Hamilton Castor and Manufacturing Company, Lisa Schaefer, and Fabian Schmal from ThyssenKrupp Bilsting of America. Thank you. For the past several years, we in this room have worked on improving our neighborhoods, our employers, and our community in an effort to make Greater Hamilton the place in our region to live, work, and play. We have encouraged individuals and businesses alike to become a part of our story. And with grit, determination, and a pioneering spirit, we have succeeded. Walk around town and you are sure to see several new storefronts and restaurants. Pick up a paper and you can't miss the headlines touting our community's continued growth and economic development. Tonight, as we stand poised on the precipice of even greater things, I contend that we should no longer approach our future with the goal of merely surviving day to day. Instead, as we look forward to 2018, we should strive to make decisions so that Greater Hamilton thrives. As Maya Angelou puts it, surviving is important, thriving is elegant. If our community is to thrive, I believe we must concentrate on three things. The first of those is relationships. If the time it took the Marriott staff to herd us from out there to in here is any indication, we already have strong relationships with one another. It is those relationships that lead to the collaborations and partnerships that make our community vibrant and progressive. In order to foster thriving relationships, we must rid ourselves of the naysayers and instead spend time with positive, energetic people. I know I am preaching to the choir here, but we need to get out of our own way and sing the praises of Greater Hamilton with one unified voice. The second thing it takes to thrive is creativity. It is widely held that creativity can solve almost any problem. The great entrepreneur and pioneer Walt Disney once told a reporter, "Around here, we don't look backward for very long. We keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths." It is exactly that kind of curiosity that will keep leading us down new paths in Greater Hamilton. In Lewis Carroll's fantastical tale, Alice in Wonderland, Alice complains to the formidable Queen of Hearts, "There's no use trying. One can't believe impossible things." The Queen is quick to reply, "I dare say you haven't had much practice. Why, sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." Imagine the possibilities for our own thriving community if we allow ourselves to believe impossible things. Lastly, to thrive, we must have joy. For those of us lucky enough to have spent the recent holiday season in the company of children, it is clear how differently they view things. We adults are merely getting through them, checking tasks off our list. However, there are few things more magical than being witness to a child's holiday wonder and excitement. Recently, my 11-year-old daughter, Lena, came home from school with a story she was bursting to tell. It came with this preamble: "Mom, you are gonna be shook." Whether I was in fact shook by her tale is irrelevant. I made sure to gasp and express the appropriate amount of surprise at the end of it. But it did make me realize something. If you approach even the most mundane story with the expectation of a passionate response, you are much more likely to get one. As Greater Hamilton keeps moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things, my hope for us is this: that we will spend the rest of 2018 improving our relationships with one another, finding creative solutions to our problems, and believing in possible things. That we will continue telling our story, telling Hamilton's story, with joy and the expectation of a passionate response. And finally, that at next year's annual dinner, the results of our collective efforts will leave us all shook. Thank you. And with that, I now get to invite our really true leader, Dan Bates, President of the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, to the podium.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. As you all know by now, I'm Dan Bates. I'm president of the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. And it is a privilege to be standing here before you tonight, and a great honor to be heading up an organization with a history of accomplishment since 1910. That's how long this organization has been in place. Well, it's been a year since I stood here. It's been a great year for me, and the most exciting, empowering year of my entire career. Several people have asked me lately how I like it in Hamilton, and how I like my job. And I always respond with the same response: if I was any happier, you couldn't stand me. Someone just remarked this week. They said, last year at the event you showed incredible passion. And I'm wondering if you still have that same passion that you had last year when you started the job. And I responded, no, I do not. I don't have that same passion. I have even more. I also want to make sure that I take the time that even though he thinks he didn't help me, I want to thank Joe Ballou as my board chair, who was really a mentor of how to acclimate myself to Hamilton. With his history and guidance and mentorship, it made the job really pleasurable and enjoyable and easy. So thank you, Joe. I want to point out a thank you to those in this room and hundreds more throughout this community who have never allowed me to feel like an outsider. Although I knew I was new to the community, I never felt like I wasn't welcome. I have never felt like I didn't belong here. Hamilton is an exciting place to be, and this is where it's at. This is where the future is about to explode, and this chamber is positioned to be one of the driving forces of that movement forward. With that being said, let me give you some insight as to what I, as the president, have been doing along with my team over the past 12 months. For me, this has been a year of meeting people, connecting with organizations, and establishing relationships. Our future as an organization is extremely bright, but only if we have been effective at engaging people, gathering necessary information, identifying the opportunities, evaluating our impact, and knowing how to utilize what we know to create meaningful change and powerful leadership. This past year, we have worked passionately to create a perception that is progressive, creative, and flexible. That began with a new look in our marketing materials, including a new logo. We updated the look of our offices to create a more collaborative hub that reflects your future chamber. We have elevated relationships with our neighboring chambers in Fairfield and Middletown, formed meaningful partnerships with the Greater Cincinnati Chamber, partnering on regional workforce issues, and representing the Cincinnati region on a statewide Transportation Leadership Academy. Also, we are beginning to partner with the African American Chamber, and we have become actively involved with the Ohio Workforce and Education Committee with the State Chamber in Columbus. We have hosted Congressman Davidson and Representative Rutherford multiple times, including intimate and productive roundtable discussions on the concerns of local businesses and municipal concerns both here in Hamilton and in Fairfield. So what is our focus for 2018? The Chamber as an organization will be moving forward with an agenda of powerful and meaningful collaboration. This will be our process, as well as working toward a reconstruction of our building to better utilize our space that will be conducive to greater partnerships and effective collaboration. One of those collaborative efforts is partnering with the Hamilton Mill, SBDC, and 17 Strong on an exciting initiative to promote and support entrepreneurial ideas, including a pop-up shop on Main Street to debut those startups and create an environment of real-world tests with consumers. We are committed to continue and elevate our focus on supporting and promoting education as it relates to career and future workforce decisions with Hamilton City Schools, Baden, Butler Tech, Miami Regionals, and Cincinnati State. In fact, we are well on our way in developing an internship program for the Chamber for students from Miami and Xavier universities. We will also be focusing and working collaboratively with two of the highest demand and greatest career growth industries in our region, healthcare and manufacturing. We are partnering with Cox Media, Journal News, based upon the successful marketing blitz for the most successful Small Business Saturday ever this year, and to use that model in promoting our businesses in German Village, High, and Main Streets during monthly and quarterly campaigns to bring in consumers from communities outside Hamilton to shop, dine, and be entertained. We started talking about diversity in 2017, and we are serious about creating an organization that is diverse and inclusive to be more representative of the community we serve. Technology. We are committed to be a leader in the business community, bringing technological resources and new product launches to Hamilton. Our new partnership with Microsoft and Bass International will allow us to keep the business community informed on issues like GDPR. In fact, this chamber will have unparalleled security and be internationally GDPR compliant this spring. If you don't know what GDPR is, you probably need to be finding out, especially if you're in manufacturing. We're the only chamber informed on international security compliance to be in this conversation for our members, and we will be working with SBA, SBDC, and Microsoft to keep our members up to date on these issues. Regarding events, as part of assessing ourselves, we will not be doing an expo this year. After a detailed analysis, we decided to go down a different path and create an opportunity for our members and businesses that have not been well served by our expos of the past. Our new event will be focused on businesses that are business to consumer. Hamilpalooza is the perfect venue for retailers, crafters, kitchen refacers, nonprofits, home-based businesses, banks, services, car dealers, and a whole host of businesses that need consumers and customers. So we are launching here tonight, Hamilpalooza. You can check out our website for more details. And by the way, while you were sitting here tonight, emails are on their way to you starting at 8:10 this evening. You are being marketed by Hamilpalooza as you sit here in this room. The last thing I want to cover is our commitment to prepare the business community for the anticipated changes that will occur with the opening of Spooky Nook at Champion. The Chamber staff will be traveling to Pennsylvania in March to do research and interview business owners around Spooky Nook. We want to be able to speak with credibility as we prepare Hamilton businesses for the incredible regional impact that this project will have. We believe that existing businesses will need to revisit their business plans, adjust staff levels, and prepare for unparalleled foot traffic and competition over the next 24 months. We also want to be prepared ourselves as a business support organization for rapid business growth in downtown, Route 4, and throughout our footprint. As I look forward to 2018 and the near future, I can hardly contain my excitement for what I see in the future of Hamilton and the Chamber. With that, I just gave myself the perfect lead-in to introduce our speaker. Sam Byler. Much of Sam's professional career was spent at Auntie Anne's, the world's largest hand-rolled soft pretzel franchisor. Sam began his relationship as a franchisee with Auntie Anne's in 1989. He later became president and CEO in 2001, and in 2005 launched the next generation of Auntie Anne's when he purchased the company. Based on market conditions, Sam made a decision to sell in November of 2010. Sam's most recent endeavor is Spooky Nook Sports, home of the world's largest indoor sports complex, which opened in June of 2013. Spooky Nook Sports offers unrivaled sports and recreation activities, leveraging state-of-the-art facilities, dynamic programming, outstanding instruction, and a friendly professional staff. With that, I welcome to the podium Sam Byler.
Well, good evening, everyone. Glad to see you. I'm glad you took the time to come out tonight. I don't get very nervous about speaking normally. However, as the evening went on out here, it must have been 10 people, so I can't wait to hear what you have to say. I'm like, oh my God, I actually have to think about what I'm saying, all right? So I have a couple notes, but I like to tell stories. And, you know, I think that my love for business started when I was pretty young, actually. I was born Amish in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And my dad wanted electricity in a car. And so we didn't stay Amish my whole life. And, you know, it was good, but he was an entrepreneur. And I think I caught his genes early because all of my friends were still Amish. All my cousins, most of them still are. And we used to take, and we got away with it for a long time until, it was late summer in the fall. Our moms went to the basements to get their those glass ball canning jars, you know, and they were gone. Well, what we had discovered is that people would buy Amish water. And so we'd set up these quart jars along the road, and we'd sell water. We got it out of the tap. It was Amish water. It was out of a house, right? So, it didn't turn, it come to find out, we weren't aware that, you know, the price of what you sell something for should be more than the cost of everything that goes into it. We were really upside down by the end, but I think Mom got new canning jars out of it. So that was, one upside. But thank you for the invitation, Dan. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. And probably the most impressive thing is how Dan is forward-looking. And so I'll talk about some of what we've experienced at the Nook back east, and hopefully, you can take it and figure out how to use it. And I probably have some ideas, but we're still learning. It's been quite an experience. Imagine this past weekend we had a volleyball tournament, and if you've been to the Nook, and there's probably at least 20 or 25 people here who've been there, it's kind of out in the country. It really is out in the country. And there's a row of houses across the street, but generally all around it is farmland, and so there's not a lot to do. People do drive to get places, but I was thinking about being located, right across the river here in Hamilton. On Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday, we had more than 11,000 people a day in our building. And the car traffic, based on turns, most of them left at some point and came back for more games, or there was a morning wave and then an evening wave. Now imagine if half of those people started walking around Hamilton. All right, you got Dan Smart to help you think about this ahead of time. Because if you have 5,000 people a day coming to eat 1 or 2 meals, they're going to stay in hotels either in Hamilton or in the surrounding area in the county. It's a big deal. So I'll tell you a little bit about our learning. I do laugh at myself quite a bit. I suppose I should have learned. Anyway, I learned a lot of things the hard way once. I've also figured out it's better if you can, when somebody else screws up, if you can learn from their screw up and not do it yourself. It's just a lot better that way. But, I started at Auntie Anne's in 1989, which was the year it was founded. And, I'd been self-employed, so I had a business. My wife and I had a business. And it was kind of a hard decision to join because we had plenty of freedom. Okay, we were making decent money, for a young married couple. And kids came along and screwed that up too. But we were doing all right. And I got a call one day if I would want to join Auntie Anne's. I think I don't know if there were 10 or 12 employees at that point. And I knew Ann and Jonas, who had founded it. They were Bylers also. But we weren't related on the Byler side. It was on the Smucker side. So, you can figure that out. That's called the Mennonite game when you start going down out those. But the point, and part of my excitement about hiring people and training people is the opportunity to help them, I think, understand how simple things make a difference. All right, so a couple of years after I got hired at Auntie Anne's, I was hired by somebody named Ellie Zemer. And she really helped professionalize our office, all right? So literally, like, how do you answer the phone, I think, but maybe not quite that basic. But a couple of years in, I said, Ellie, why'd you call me? And she remembered meeting me a couple of months before she called. And I had no recollection I even paid attention to this, but it was my eye contact and handshake that made an impression on her. Now, I was in my early 20s, and so maybe you should have learned that, but people don't know that. And if it's that simple. But talk about opening up an opportunity. Wow. And so, I spent the years, and my focus there was on the franchisees. I was actually a compliance person. We called them store support. That's what you do when you're, inspecting someone, but you don't want them to think you're there for support, right? Like, I'm from the government. I'm here to help, right? So. But I will get back to Hamilton because you have something unusual here. But so my experience really for the first couple years was really practically all across the country, but with more managers in the store, and that's really where things happen. And so when I think about what can happen along the streets of Hamilton, at the cafes and the bakeries and coffee shops and restaurants and more restaurants that will, you don't have enough restaurants to feed 5,000 people yet. Wait, was that the fish in the loaves? I forget, but a couple more restaurants will handle it also. But so really, every couple of years at Auntie Anne's, I had an opportunity for an advancement, spent some time in Florida, spent some time in Chicago, and then came back home. My normal speech is dream big, work hard, and never quit. And the point on all of those, is dream big. I mean, why not? It's a dream, right? You're gonna fight for it. You're gonna go after it, and the work hard part is where a lot of people quit, but then never quit. And I think especially for small businesses, I've been there. So long before I was with Auntie Anne's, I had a couple of small businesses, and it's a challenge. It's a real challenge to do all the work that needs to be done, and anybody that started one knows exactly what I'm talking about. Somebody was talking about they are 17 years into a process, and they're very successful, and I thought, yeah, an overnight success, right? That's what everybody thinks, but 17 years in, you make a big difference, and the job does get easier. But we built up Auntie Anne's, just had an incredible team there. And over the course of just about 6 years, we doubled our corporate sales, and that was through steady growth. There wasn't any crazy process there. But importantly, we quadrupled our earnings. And it wasn't by cutting costs or by cutting staff. It was because we had an incredibly motivated staff with everybody pulling in the same direction. And that is much of what I see in Hamilton. All right, you have no idea the power when everybody pulls in the same direction versus one or two oddballs, troublemakers, who try to pull off to the side. It just sucks the energy out of everything. And what I see in Hamilton is really pretty unusual and quite impressive. So come 2010, we'd come through the recession, right? And we just grew right through the recession. Our earnings continued to improve. And there were a lot of players who had a lot of cash, but there weren't many businesses to buy because not a lot had held as steady through that recession. So it really wasn't part of my plan. When I bought Auntie Anne's, I I don't know what I thought. You know, I probably die eating pretzels or something, and I probably still will die eating pretzels. But the opportunity came along. The multiples were kind of ridiculous, and so at 45 years old, I sold Auntie Anne's and retired because I thought that's what you do. And it was about 6 months later, in the summer. I think we sold in mid or late November, and you know, by the next summer, I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. It was ridiculous. 9 o'clock, I couldn't get out of bed, and my wife said, "You're depressed." I said, "I am not depressed. I don't get depressed." What am I depressed about? Who would pity me anyway, right? But I learned through that process that for me, it's the pursuit of a goal. And I think for many people, it's the pursuit of a goal. And of course, you want to achieve your goals. But it's really important to have another one after you achieve that first one and the second one. Because for many of us, especially in the business community, and you know, I believe that's a large part of who's here tonight, really, I think it is the pursuit of something. And so we decided that Sam needed to do something. You know, I think Melody was as tired of me at home as I was of being at home. But so I thought, hey, let's open a sports complex, because Monica, our daughter, had played volleyball for about 5 years on a club team. And we traveled around only as far as Orlando. That was about once a year. But, you know, generally it was in a 3-hour radius, maybe 4 of Lancaster. And I thought, let's open a volleyball center. Her coach was interested in being involved, and so we started looking for a building. And this building wasn't to be found. I wanted to keep it in Lancaster County because I believed it would be an economic driver. And so we looked at about 23 buildings, and all of them, the columns were too close or the ceilings were too low. Well, there was one in a town called New Holland, but you can't get there from anywhere. There's no highway. You know, it just wasn't a good place to locate. And my realtor kept sending me this listing. And I was getting a little tired of it because I told him twice. I said, "Tim, I don't want to see it. You know, it's too big." It was 600,000 square foot building. I thought, what are you going to do with a 600,000? I don't even want to see it. And I know why I didn't want to see it, because I was afraid of what would happen. And sure enough, it did. But by that was on a Friday. I don't think I told Melody until Monday. But anyway, I went to Staples. I got this 2x3 grid paper and cut tennis courts and basketball courts and volleyball courts out to scale and started laying this out. And I skipped church on Sunday. I didn't hear the end of that for 3 weeks. And but that's why Monday I really had to fess up what I was doing. But, you know, I tease about Melody, been my strongest support. All the years I traveled, I don't remember her complaining once. And, you know, if you have a spouse that's supportive, it's a pretty special thing. But we kept going, and I thought, you know, I probably ought to get an architect to look at this. So I took my little sheet over with all the Scotch tape and stuff on and gave it to my architect, and he started doing an outline. Well, this building had been was held by the Royal Bank of Scotland, who had made a $22 million loan to this investor group out of New Jersey. I'll tell you more about people from New Jersey soon. But they held this for 2 years because it was interest only, non-recourse, and at the end of that time, they gave it back to the bank, and the bank held on to it. So we had a great opportunity. It's about a 60-acre property with 600,000 square foot building. So I went to see it for the first time, and when I walked in the doors, I literally, well, let me describe it first, all right? The roof leaked all over the place, and it looked like a rainforest, sort of. It was a little steamy in there. Had these yellow halide lights, you know, the old warehouse lights. We saw dark things moving across the rail up on the wall. Found out later there were 5 tribes of raccoons had moved into this building, and they were none too happy when we started coming in. We have a dog that they liked even less, so they left. They found a more peaceful place to live. And but when I walked in, I literally could hear whistles, and I saw kids playing sports. Now, I didn't really, and I'm not crazy, but, you know, I'm talking, this is visionary stuff, all right, you know. And so I thought, man, you know, this might work. So we went back and started looking at the whole opportunity, and really all I knew about was volleyball. What I didn't realize is that the same amount of crazy parents and kids are following softball and baseball and basketball and field hockey and futsal and soccer, and it goes on and on. I thought, hey, this might work. So we did some research, but you'll find I'm not a big research guy, I think. Maybe I am a little bit, but so somebody just asked, how to get the name Spooky Nook? And it's a pretty good story. I said, you can't imagine how much we spent on the marketing and research on getting this brand together. And they were thinking, well, how much? And I said, 400. They thought 1,000. I said, no, it was $400. It was a tattoo artist made the logo. And the road name that we're built on is Spooky Nook Road. So now the people come in, they come in from all over, and I'll talk with sometimes they're like, how'd you get them to change the name of the road? I said, you have no idea how difficult it was. But, hey, you take it where it comes, right? I don't want to let the truth get in the way of a good story, so we get... But when it comes to consultants, I usually ask, but I'm not even going to ask how many consultants there are. We had a consultant came in and to kind of help us plan this out, and they told us we needed 600 parking spaces. So we were like, oops, that's a lot, But we had a couple soccer fields out there and then this paved area. And prior to us buying the building, it was a distribution center. So, it had truck traffic and very large turnaround areas. It was built to last, and so it was a good building for what we wanted to do. And we had our first tournament, I think it was in March. It was called the Irish Rumble, a big volleyball tournament. We probably had 16 courts, so that would have put it at maybe 3,200 players. We figured one car per player, but they come in waves, they come and go, and so we were somewhat prepared. We had an off-site parking area, and the cars started coming, and they kept coming, and they kept coming. And here's 500 cars, and then 600, and all of a sudden the radio crackles, and this guy named Larry was out in the parking lot. I can hear his voice to this day. Guys, I need some help out here. We had 2,000 cars came that morning. We figured out volleyball parents come, I don't know if they don't get along or what, but mom comes early and dad comes late and grandma comes on Sunday. And man, it was cars everywhere. It was crazy. But we learned fast. I can tell you that one of the first conversations I had when I came out here is I said, we need 2,500 spaces, and it's got to be on-site or adjacent. It just, we had shuttle lots set up. This is the other story about, we started charging for parking. It was the best way to reduce the number of cars. So it's $5 a car, but you'd think it was the end of the world. So those first couple of months, I was in the parking lot 16 hours a day, and these people were not nice. It was crazy. I had a hat on, a scarf. They didn't know me from Adam, all right? And a couple of them said, you will never amount to anything. And I'm like, sorry, I'm going to try to do better. The best one was, somebody in a BMW with Starbucks coffee and just complaining up a storm about this $5 parking fee. I'm looking like, seriously? All right. Anyway, we made it through that. We kept adding. We eliminated soccer field after baseball field, and we ended up with about 2,000 spaces on site now and an agreement with a neighboring property that we can use from Thanksgiving to Christmas, some of our busiest time periods, so we pick up another 500 spaces there. So I heard about this project in Hamilton, and, I want to recognize the city. We'll start with the mayor and city council and them being smart enough to hire Joshua Smith. All right, Joshua is a restless guy, okay? But let me tell you what I saw when I'm in his office, okay? He's looking out over the city, and he can't stand that there's a building over there that's not occupied, and there's an empty lot, and there's rundown properties. He doesn't rest. All right, so you get somebody like that that's trying to drive an effort, and he has a really strong ability to bring people together. And the city has it's unusual, all right? I mean, I've dealt with municipalities on many occasions, and what you don't find here is a lot of political power playing in the city, all right? And what you don't find here is a lot of ego-driven types of decision-making. That's not been our experience. I've sat in a number of meetings, public meetings and in private meetings. They are focused on how to make Hamilton better. how to help Hamilton, regain its stride. And by the way, we're excited about coming, but the energy that's already here, you can see it in the restaurants. You can see it in the new, you've got new restaurants coming. The other thing, people here drink a lot of beer. You ever notice that? All right. It's kind of crazy. So we've gone to visit some other spaces. One of them was one of the other sports facilities. And I go walking in, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. I see the kids coming in, and here comes a mom with a pitcher and a couple Solo cups. And I'm like, what the heck? All right, so Pennsylvania has really crazy liquor laws. They were written, I think 2 weeks after Prohibition was over. They haven't changed since. But Tom, ask Tom Vanderhorst. He's got a new favorite beer. Somebody he met back in Pennsylvania. He'll tell you about it. Was it Stacy's mom or something? I think it's a beer. Trust me, it's a beer. But Joshua sees the potential of this city, and I've been through this once before. Lancaster City, 15 years ago, went dark at 5 o'clock. The number of businesses downtown had reduced dramatically. As a young couple, that was more than 15 years ago, but that would have been 20. We didn't go there were no restaurants. You didn't go downtown. There was nothing to do. And at this point, most of this has happened in the last 15 years, there is a vibrant art community. I would put it at no less than 15 or 20 art studios. And it's already happening here. So I'm connecting the dots, all right? I see what's happening here. You have building stock and roadways that you probably underappreciate. So in Lancaster City, which was built back when everybody drove horse and buggies, the streets are narrow. There's just really limits to what you can do. The building stock is maybe 100 years older. It's much more costly to rehab. But we've had this thriving arts community with artists. They make a living. I mean, they make a good living. You walk into these, every first Friday is, it's First Friday, but it's first Friday of the month. All the art studios stay open. They have wine and cheese and all this. The streets are throbbing with people. Thursday is now, not Thirsty Thursday. I think it's Music Thursday or something. But there's just multiple event after event. And restaurants, there's got to be 30, 35 restaurants now downtown. This Lancaster City was dark not many years ago. And Luca, a new restaurant that opened, you call for a reservation now, it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I don't plan that far ahead for almost anything, but the pizza's really good. But you have a special government in the city of Hamilton. If you go, check out the mission statement. I mean, it's like a business. They're serious about serving their customers. Now, you're going to fight with them about taxes, or you might have a water bill, or you might, it's all that stuff. I get it. But their focus on how to bring the city along is pretty amazing. And I haven't seen or felt that, what we feel in the city here, anywhere else. Markham Apartments, German Village, Main Street, High Street, you've seen it changing, but it might be so slow you forget it happened, right? But it is happening, and it's quite amazing. We did a study was done on our behalf. I think EDC will release it shortly back east, on the economic impact of Spooky Nook Sports in Lancaster County. Again, we're out in the country, and so I think what happened is we opened, and then you really got to get on the highway and go one exit, which is only a mile or so. Up there, 5 new restaurants, a new hotel, another hotel right at the exit where we're located, another hotel down on Centerville Road, 2 exits down and a couple miles away. Lots of things are happening because of the demand. And we have about 150 employees full-time. We have about 600 during our busy season, which is last year was about 9 or 10 months of the year. So we're excited about having a workforce available. We're excited about the opportunity to train them. It's a challenge because it's hard for anybody to hire anybody that's not over 16, right? You can't use a dishwasher. Can you imagine? That's dangerous equipment. No kid is allowed to use a dishwasher. But I'm excited about it because of the proximity to Hamilton, and I think the impact we're going to be able to have on the youth employment here. So there is a really great opportunity. In the 12 months of this economic measure, through our booking system, so we have a housing service that helps with booking hotels. There were many rooms outside of this. But through our system, we booked 60,000 room nights in the past 12 months. That's a lot of rooms, all right? That's a lot of people. Every one of those people buy gas sometime when they're in town. Every one of those families buy at least a couple of meals. We want them to eat with us sometimes, but we want them to experience Lancaster because it's a part of what keeps them coming back. It will turn into, hey, Hamilton is really a cool place. Let's go down, let's make that our vacation. You'll find the interconnection, when you get people coming and you treat them really well, you'll be amazed at what happens. The economic impact, so anyway, it was about $98.5 million impact, direct, indirect, and induced. That's an amazing number. I was amazed at the number. I started thinking it's going to be a big number because we see the people coming and going. But the opportunity for Hamilton, I think, is huge. And by the way, if you're thinking about opening a business, I'll give you this is free advice, all right? Get a lease now, all right? But if you can, make it contingent on the first permit drawn on this project. See, then you've got to, you feel safe. But get out there and do it, because I'm telling you, those storefronts on Main Street, on High Street, are going to be gone. You're going to be surprised at how quickly they're taken up. There will be a need for more hotels. I don't know how close. The highway traffic's important. What we do, and by the way, we talk a lot about Spooky Nook Sports Complex, but there's an entire convention center that's coming with this. So it'll be a 200-room hotel, a couple 100,000 square feet of convention space, all on Mill 2 on the riverside. Imagine those bricks taken out of those big openings and windows back in there. The view across. So I've been. That one building, the white. We call it Beirut. It's like the bunker building on the right below C Street. But I've been up there in the top. The view from these buildings across the river and into the city is incredible. When people visit here, they're not going to forget because it's unusual. I think the river is perhaps being appreciated more than it has been in the past. So the history of, at least, the pictures in the hotel here, there was a lot of water one time back in the day. I think there were horses floating or something. It was bad, Now, but it's under control, and so it's a real asset. There's some good work being done on how do we make the most out of this river. But if things are done together, working together, I think you're going to be amazed at, I would call, the product you have to deliver to the visitors. It's going to be an amazing thing. So where do we stand with the project here in Hamilton? Mike gave me a good idea, so I need an analogy. So it's a little bit like when I was a kid. I think my kids were worse, I'm sure. But when you're driving somewhere and it's a pretty long ride, geez, you might only be an hour into an 8-hour drive, and they start, are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, not yet. And then we say, yeah, we're here. And then they say, what? No, I said we're here, we're not there yet. But really, this project is similar to a really long car ride, all right? It's far. You got to stop to refuel sometimes, and there's a lot of challenges. So funding a project like this, which we're projecting probably in $140, $150 million, most of that zeros, okay? So the 115 or 14 or 150 up front, that's what counts. All the zeros at the end don't matter, all right? But, oh, wait, it's zeros in front that don't matter, right? Okay. So we continue to work on the funding stack. We've had some very successful meetings in the past couple of weeks, especially on the senior debt side. I could tell you, I could read more letters to you like New Market NMTC, New Market Tax Credits, and Historic Tax Credits, which, by the way, we're planning on preserving the buildings pretty much as you see them. There's a little bit more of Mill 1 that'll be taken down. That's on the other side of B Street. But the Mill 2 that's on the river, it's going to look pretty much the same. We're planning on keeping all of the exterior wall along B Street on Mill 1, so that basically when we're finished and you stand down there in what I think we'll call the B Street Canyon, it's going to look like it looked when somebody's grandfather worked there or when your dad worked there. And we've just heard some really cool stories about people whose families worked there for a long time. But it's going to be an incredible project. The remediation is pretty much complete. All of the outside remediation has been completed. I think all of the remediation in Mill 2 has been completed, and what's left in Mill 1 was left on purpose because it'll be part of a demolition process instead of a two-stage project. Design plans are well underway. We've kept up. The city is working on the road and infrastructure. An engineer on our part is working alongside to make sure that our parking lot, isn't lower or higher or whatever, they do. So all of those things are moving along. Mike Dollard describes it as there's about 8 or 10 of us at a cliff, or we're walking toward a cliff, right? And we're holding hands. And if anybody gets too far back, then you got to, focus on that and pull it forward. And it is not an insignificant job. Andy Brossart has been supporting our efforts, and in fact leading many of them on the funding side. And I'll tell you, this guy he's very good, and he works very hard. He's done many deals, and he says this is the most complicated that he's ever worked on. So we know we're tackling a pretty big project here. Mike says, I know we're getting close because it's getting really hard. And really it is. A year ago we could put off this conversation or put off that target, but we're down now into a 3, 5, 6, 8 week period where we have got to nail down a couple of things. And I think we're very close. We remain very confident. Someone asked the other day, why do you do this? And I said, that's good. No, but entrepreneurs chase ideas and have a compelling need to make things work. And so, I love work. I told you about what happened after I thought I retired. It's a terrible idea. I think it's an American idea. I guess others retire too, but it's so I love to work. And we built something back east that hadn't been built before. And it was a startup. It was a startup on steroids, all right? So we started in December with 8 employees. By February we had 24, and by June we had 300. So it was wild in terms of a takeoff. But what I love is going to work every day and figuring out how to do something better, how to streamline a process, how to support people in growing in terms of their opportunities and their jobs. So we remain very excited about this project in Hamilton. We're excited to continue to work with the city and so many others. I mean, I thought about starting to list names, but John with the foundation and Mike Core Fund, and there are really an unusual collection. Not that John and Mike are unusual, but the behaviors, like to work together. There are lots of people in Hamilton that are really pulling all in the same direction, and we've felt that, and that's been really clear to us. I'm certain it's not me. I didn't do anything there, but it's been an exciting process, and we are. I feel very comfortable with where we are and the ability to bring the project home. There will be a lot more over the next couple of months. Some of the funding programs I was talking about, they make their allocations soon and all that, so you'll hear more about that as it comes this way. But I'm excited about Hamilton. I was thinking about the experience that a Spooky Nook guest would have when they come here. And they're going to go in, they're going to come in early, the kids are going to play some volleyball, and then they've got really a short walk to a downtown area that's going to have a lot of amenities that they're going to enjoy. And every shopkeeper that I've met here and every restaurateur that I've met here engages in a way that makes you want to come back. We're not here enough nights to eat in all of these places, but I wish I could. And a lot of it has to do with who I'm interacting with. So this city is really primed for what's coming, and we're excited to be a part of it. Honored that you'll receive us and welcome us, and I thank you for your support, for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Sam. It's a really exciting time to be a resident or a business here in Greater Hamilton, and after listening to Sam, I am sure that we will have no problem thriving and being shook this year and well into our future. There are many people in this audience who have played a part in getting us to where we are today, and so I have the pleasure of introducing 2 Lifetime Achievement Award recipients, the first of which is Mr. Dave Ballou. Dave, if you would stand. Thank you. The second of those is Mrs. Jerry Hammond. Jerry? Thank you. Thank you. The second group of individuals I'd like to recognize is our previous Citizens of the Year, and if you would just hold your applause until the end. The first, Jackie Parrish, Jack and Shirley Mosier, Pat Carruthers, Jerry Hammond, Bill Wilkes, Mike Dingledine, Steve Timmer, and Betty Taylor. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce Terry Buca, the Senior Director of Business Operations for Cox Media Group, who will come to the podium for the presentation of this year's Citizen of the Year Award. Thank you.
So the meal was great tonight. I love the chocolate mousse, but there was a part of me driving in here that thought maybe we'd be having pumpkin pie tonight instead. So I've been involved with the Citizen of the Year for about 7 years, and there's some things that I've seen from like these amazing people that have done great things with the city, and there's some common characteristics that have really kind of stood out. Things like passion. You know, these folks have passion for the city and really passion for people here in the city. Vision. You know, they can take an idea and they can really formulate it into something that really helps people and really drives the city forward. Time and effort. I mean, these folks are tireless. I mean, they're working all the time and building this idea and really making people's lives better. And they're very selfless. You know, they work hard and they do things for the greater good. And they're also impactful. You know, the things that they're doing are really impacting the city now and moving forward. And when I think about this year's winners, Jason and Tammy Snyder, they kind of embody all of that. And if you think about, you know, what they've done, they built this showcase for the city, this signature event in Southwest Ohio. And it's this thing that's going to have a lasting impact moving forward. Before we show the video, I did want to take a second to thank Steve Caldwell from TV Hamilton. One thing that we had an issue with resources, and Steve really graciously stepped in, and he did all the production work for this video. And I appreciate Steve and his team, and thank you, Steve. You know, TV Hamilton's a great partner for us, and I'm sure a great partner for the city, so thanks, Steve. And with that, I'm going to share the video.
I nominated Jason and Tammy because their impact on the city over the past 6 years with Operation Pumpkin has just been phenomenal. Everything they do for that festival, their time, their effort, all of the work they put into it has ensured that the impact on this city and the High Street area has just been amazing.
There's do-sayers and there's naysayers. And I tell you, Jason and Tammy are definitely do-sayers.
Congratulations to the Snyders on this recognition for having the vision and foresight to see what the impact of a community event like Operation Pumpkin could have.
Jason came into my office and he said, I heard about Operation Pumpkin that they had 50-some years ago, and I would like to have a pumpkin festival in downtown Hamilton and close down High Street.
You know, the concept that we had at the time with the giant pumpkins and the sculpting and the amusement rides and entertainment and vendors, you know, it's quite a twist or change from what the original Operation Pumpkin was, but similar in the fact that, you know, we're trying to bring the community together.
The original goal was to bring awareness to Hamilton, to the growth, the new growth that was starting at that time, which is completely taken off now.
So I first met Jason when he was working on the building where my office is here, where we're today, the Mercantile office. And then when he and Tammy got here and they talked about starting Operation Pumpkin, I thought to myself, wow, there's a lot to do, there's a lot to manage. You're talking about closing High Street, you're talking about making this thing something that 40,000 people might come to. You're trying to pick 3 days of the year that don't conflict with something else, and you're trying to be successful with weather. Boy, you have your hands full, and they did. And they were frankly not shy about taking on problems, and they were not shy about knowing that things could fail.
I think that they are deserving of the award because even outside of everything that they do for the community, if you just look at Operation Pumpkin, that's a very high impact 3 days. They're there first thing in the morning, they're there until late each night, and sometimes they're there in the middle of the night. Not only do they commit their time, but they also put their family business behind the event.
I think Jason and Tammy are two of the most selfless people that I know. And so I think that they are very deserving to be recognized in this way.
Where this festival is at now, from where it started, is a true testament to their work ethic, their loyalty to the festival and to the community, and I think because of the two of them, it's become the preeminent festival that we have here in town.
It's become very popular, it's become profitable, it's become well run. There's a huge community group around it now who are helping Jason and Tammy, and they just were able to start something, I think, mostly out of faith and ignorance than understanding what they were doing, but it surely paid off, and I think it goes to how we change a community.
They're some of the most kind and compassionate people that I know. Well, at least Tammy is.
No, so listen, Jason has this rough, burly exterior, and he's the construction contractor guy, and so he's kind of got that facade. But if you peel the layers back of Jason, he's got a soft and kind heart, and he's extremely compassionate.
It is because of Jason and Tammy's upbeat personality and just desire for this festival to be one of the best in the area that all of the committee wants to ensure that it's just so successful, and we work hard just so that we can match the level of effort they put into this festival every year.
Your 2017 Citizens of the Year.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Go ahead.
Should I tell you about my purple hair first? Go ahead. I can't say anything. That's the greatest group of people ever. I just want to say.
Yeah, I came up here with a general idea of what I'd like to say, but let's say the video threw me off. We really had no idea what kind of impact we were making. We didn't until this past couple of weeks. We're very happy and proud to be one of the many parts making Hamilton what it is today. And we're
not from here, but we fell in love with you and everything about it. So
absolutely.
It's.
And we're certainly not the only ones who've made this happen. Our committee, would you guys stand? They make us look good. There's somebody here. Great point, Tim. Thank you. By the way, Mike Dingodine, thank you. That is the most polite way I've ever been called ignorant in my entire life.
And it's absolutely true.
But you hit the nail on the head. We absolutely started this with complete ignorance. But we're beyond humbled and very grateful for this award. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Jason and Tammy. Are they not just the cutest things? I mean, they really are just so cute. Well, this has been a really spectacular meeting. I appreciate so much all of your attendance here tonight, and we just have a few more words. We want to thank our annual meeting event sponsor, Mercy Health Fairfield Hospital. Thank you very much. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, Miller Coors. Thank you. Okay, and now I'm going to read a bunch of names, and if you clap after every one, it's going to take you that much longer to get out those doors. So if you'll just hold your applause until the end. We want to thank our sponsors, Butler Tech, First Financial Bank, Fort Hamilton Hospital, LC&B National Bank, U.S. Bank. We'd also like to thank our production sponsor, Tech Services, and also thanks to Courtyard by Marriott, Journal News, Tom Noonan at Noonan's Party Store, and TV Hamilton. Thank you all very much for your support. As many of you know, I'm an attorney, and I really like to have a gavel at this point, but I'm just going to say meeting adjourned.